Howdy folks, you're listening to Smarticus Tells History, the podcast where we discuss some of the wacky and crazy stories your friends may have told you. So sit down, have a beer or two, and let's learn a thing or two.
Welcome back to the show once again, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Smarticus. This week's episode takes us to the Polish Army. At the start of World War II, Poland was invaded by Nazi Germany in the autumn of 1939. As a result of their invasion, Great Britain and France declared war on the Germans. The Germans were attacking the Polish by bombing their airfields as well as conducting naval battles out in the Baltic Sea. The Germans claimed that they attacked as a defensive measure. However, Great Britain and France, they were not convinced, and thus the war ensued. Now, as history has shown us, there have been numerous famous heroic animals. You could recall Balto, who transported diphtheria antitoxin over 674 miles of Alaskan terrain. Or perhaps Laika, the Soviet cosmonaut dog, who was the first living creature in space. But, if you asked any Polish veterans to give the name of a heroic animal, you would hear the name Wojtek. He was a 600-pound Syrian brown bear. His story begins in the Alborz Mountains of northern Iran. While him and his mother were out and about, a group of hunters shot and killed his mother. A young boy found the young cub and adopted him. Later, in the fall of 1942, the bear and the boy came across a group of Polish soldiers. Those Polish soldiers had felt sorry for the bear as he seemed weak, tired, and hungry. You see, these soldiers were not ordinary soldiers. They themselves had been imprisoned in labor camps or gulags by the Soviets when they invaded Poland. The prisoners were released by a pact made with the Allied forces and Stalin. This pact allowed the Polish to join the Allied troops and form their own division, the Polish Second Corps. Having previously been in the bear's same shoes, they adopted, fed, and took care of the bear. The Polish soldiers nursed the young cub back to health using an old vodka bottle that they had filled with milk. They treated him like he was one of their own kin, most likely because the soldiers had been torn apart from their own families by the war and their captivity. As the cub grew older with the soldiers, he even began smoking and drinking, though the soldiers reported that he would take a single puff of the cigarette and then swallow it whole. When the bear had depleted a beer bottle, he would look through the bottle in one eye, wondering, "Hey, where'd the rest of this beer go?" Then switch to the other eye to make sure that all the beer was gone. When the soldiers made their way to Egypt, the bear would require as much water as possible to keep him hydrated in the high heats. If there was a large bit of water nearby, he could be seen going for a little dip any chance he got. Sometimes when the soldiers were practicing throwing grenades with oranges, the bear would chase after the oranges and then eat them. He even learned how to break into the communal showers and turn the water on, all on his own. Which, of course, was a problem because being in the desert, well, water was rationed. His ingeniousness occasionally resulted in water shortages. The soldiers eventually taught the bear how to pick up some of the new recruits and hold them by their boots in efforts to make those new rookies think they were about to be bear chow. You know, that's a little joke. Though the bear would never hurt a soul, the new recruits didn't know that. The bear had learned how to salute, carry supplies, and enjoy wrestling with the other soldiers. By the time the soldiers were making their way to the Italian war zone, they ran into a little snag with the bear. The British ships that were to be transporting the soldiers did not allow any pets into the operations. So, the Polish Corps made him an official enlisted soldier of the 22nd Artillery Transport Company of the 2nd Corps. He was given an official number, the rank of private, and even pay. Of course, it was in the form of food, which he was already receiving, and was given the name Wojtek, which translates to Joyful Warrior. Now, an official member of the 2nd Corps, he continued his journey throughout the remainder of the war. His first actual battle was the famous Battle of Monte Cassino. It was here that he would carry large crates of ammunition that would normally take 4 to 6 men. With his 2 large bear paws, he would stand upright carrying these crates because, well, he thought he was people, and, in a way, he was. He had such an impact on the soldiers and the war that the 22nd Company had sent a request to have their patch officially changed to a bear carrying an artillery shell. It was granted without hesitation. After the war ended, Wojtek's company was later transferred to southeastern Scotland. Poland remained in Soviet control, and having first-hand seen what that was like, many of the soldiers chose to remain in Scotland in exile. In 1947, the 22nd Company was demobilized. This sent our war hero, Wojtek, to temporarily live on a farm with other Polish soldiers. He eventually ended up in the Edinburgh Zoo, though his Polish brothers-in-arms would frequently visit him, sometimes even crossing the barrier to go play with him once more. It was there at the Edinburgh Zoo that Wojtek spent the rest of his days until his death in 1963 at the age of 22. Only a few years ago, in 2015, Edinburgh constructed a bronze statue in Princes Street Gardens in honor of Wojtek and the soldiers that he fought with. The Wojtek Memorial Trust was also created and pays tribute to the resultant close ties between Scotland and Poland. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes this week's short story of a brave Syrian brown bear known as Wojtek.
I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and if you have heard any wacky and crazy stories that you want told here, you can go to our Facebook page at Smarticus Tales History and leave a comment. Now, with that being said, I'll see you next time, and you guys have a wonderful, fantastic, and awesome day. Bye now.